Hello, we are resuming the conference with the third panel this afternoon titled Transforming the Profession. Please join us at the front for the discussion and presentation. On this panel, we have starting on my left, Jamie Chow, who's a project designer at Perkins and Will, where she has become the expert actually in the integration of AI in the design process. Next, we have Lorena Knezevic, an alumna of who's an architect at Gensler, where she leads the mixed reality initiatives. She is also pursuing a doctoral degree at FIU with a focus on AI in the architectural profession. Next, we have Johnny Maghzal, who's head of growth at Togal, the prize coastal construction spin-off, where he guides customers in leveraging the AI functionalities built into the software. Nicolas Pinzon Rodriguez is a senior partner at L35 Architects and managing director of USA and Latin America. He now combines his professional career as an architect with that of a photographer. Thank you for joining us today. So since we have here representatives from the profession who are embedded in professional practice, I actually asked them to bring here to show us an example where they have deployed AI technology in their professional practice. So it's a bit like a show and tell. And then we will discuss what we saw in their presentations. We can start with Jamie.
Testing. Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Chow. I am with the Perkins & Will Miami office. Perkins & Will is a global architecture firm. There are 32 offices worldwide. At Perkins & Will, our approach is one that's human-centered with the use of AI tools. So we really want to encourage the use of the human role and the human input in the design process. So here are some of the questions that we have, the big questions. How can AI be used as a tool for social equity? As well as how can we maintain the human sensibility with AI tools? We are entering an era of the democratization of skills. More and more people are able to access knowledge and skills with the use of AI tools. As our cities become more global and diverse, it's important that personalization persists so that we can maintain our diversity and inclusion. So what is fast design? Fast design is like fast food, fast fashion. It's quick, accessible, it's easy, but it's also a little dangerous if you are not cautious of how you use it. In this example, you see the Sydney Opera House retransformed in the style of two other architects, such as Zaha Hadid and Frank Gehry. This raises questions on authenticity. Fast design can lead to referential, stereotypical, and ultimately superficial concepts. In Perkins & Will, we strive to have a hybrid of AI and the traditional methods of design. So typically our concept research phase stays largely the same. We establish the concept vision through design charrettes, user interviews, workshops with the client, and where AI really comes in is in the ideation process. So in this diagram, you see AI as a tool has the potential to generate infinitely. It has ideas that could go on and on. It's the human's role to narrow down these ideas and guide them towards the original design concept. when we use AI, we need to develop our own personal voice. And in doing so, we should not lose track of our individuality. And this is just an example of how an AI prompt can be broken down. An AI prompt can be broken down into image or text-based, and we can actually use modulators or subtools that can control the output to a higher level of accuracy. So this is an example of a prompt that was created in Midjourney. It reads, a glowing mesh stretched facade architecture concept, a high-rise tower with 3 stacked volumes of atriums in between, tech hub, city context, people in streetscapes, and biodome. This is an example of how, with a prompt, a text prompt, you can create and customize an image that you would like. On the bottom left, you see further subtools that are able to kind of narrow down and give specificity to your output. This is an example of a competition that we did where we integrated AI. So from the left, you'll see 4 concept schemes and sketches that we had established early on. And AI was used as the ideation tool, the sketch tool. Through Photoshop, collaging AI images as well as 3D modeling, we arrived at a series of final images on the right that you'll see. So as you can see on the screen, we did not deviate too much from the original concept. Here are some images showing the process from sketch into Midjourney, sketch into Look X AI, Rhino into Chrome AI. This is the final design. And throughout the entire process, we were always checking back to make sure that the initial concept vision was not lost. So I'd like to just end here. It's an important thing to remember that AI is not a replacement for human judgment. We need to hone our personal voice in AI and also trust our instincts because machine learning can be wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorena, we will return with questions, but we were going to see all the presentations. Lorena, please.
Thank you. So my name is Lorena Knezevic. I am an architect at Gensler, and I'm also a Doctorate of Design research candidate researching AI in the profession. And at this moment, we'll do a bit of a preview of just some things that Gensler is doing and how we're approaching AI within our offices. It is a global design firm of over 7,000 people and over 50 offices. But what's really interesting about that is that we have a really robust team of very interconnected people working on these topics. And I feel so fortunate that I have access to seeing some of those insights in real time as I'm doing my doctoral research as well. We have about kind of different teams to give you a bit of a preview of how it works. We have a team of design technology researchers, about 70 working full-time on different technologies, and AI is definitely one of them. And then we have another specialized team that's called the AI Sandbox, and it has about 5 people also dedicated full-time, but specifically to AI. And the way that Gensler is approaching this is trying to embed people directly into the project work. So seeing, can we find a real example where there's a real application and have these researchers working in parallel alongside with the team and see if there's efficiencies that can be done in both design and also processes as well. But that being said, that means that because a lot of what we're doing is part of our project work, unfortunately, I won't be able to share as much project work, but I do have amazing colleagues that I will be able to share some of their personal projects and the experiments that they've done in order to kind of illustrate what kinds of processes we do. So the real focus here is this idea of hybrid craft and about augmenting designers to be able to do more than what they would possibly be able to do, and really coming back to the analog plus the digital. And what you're seeing here is one of our design technology experts who is also an amazing artist and architect who is going from a hand sketch all the way to a rendering as a process that has a very seamless kind of ideation. And In general, we've been experimenting with a lot of different ways of using AI. I think one way that people typically think that we can use it in our processes is, oh, it's another rendering tool. It can produce these beautiful images. Let's create a model. Let's just render. But in reality, that process takes quite a long time, and it's not using it in its best possible capacities. It's still kind of a rendering software where you're photoshopping. And what we found is that there's really a special moment when we can do this method of ideation, where we go from using the tool at its best capacity, where we have, for example, a very basic model that we then, which you're seeing here on your left-hand side, which was just a white box, and the human hand sketch on top of it, it's what's giving the definition to the design process. And then what you're seeing that continues is tools like Midjourney plus Stable Diffusion ideating that. And we can generate a lot of ideas in real time, but that are completely started and sparked from the initial human input in human craft. Let's see if this is going to play in real time. And one of the things we're most excited about experimenting with is this AI sketching in real time. And this is a moment where our designers are becoming really, really empowered. And what you're seeing here on the left is through a vectorized drawing and partial hand drawing in Photoshop, and the AI is actually rendering based off of that in a real-time moment. It is a sped-up process that you're seeing here, but it's an instantaneous feedback loop, which is really exciting and starting to provoke how we might be able to be designing in the future. And likewise, these are just a few more examples of how you could see, even drawing foliage and modeling our renderings are getting a constant feedback loop as well. And likewise, in the same token, you see in this little preview, I know it's a bit small up there, but that is an example of a little rhino model, just a little figure. But what you're seeing in the middle is actually that the AI is referencing the image of the 3D model and creating a real-time feedback loop on the generated image. So we're at any point, Gensler's approach is to always be directly in contact, directly in control of what the human seed is into whatever we're doing as a process. And that's definitely the focus, is always this hybrid craft. I wanted to share a little preview of, these are proprietary softwares that Gensler actually developed in 2020, which is very similar to actually some of the things that AI, some of these tools that are out there are doing, which, a few years ago, we saw an opportunity for test fits to be generated by our programs. And this proprietary software is allowing us to do what AI is now doing, but we've already kind of implemented it as a seed. And in a similar thinking, this is called G-Floors. This other tool called G-Blocks actually works on the basis of computational design, essentially working on the basis of grasshoppers as foundations, but it gives metrics based off of the 3D model and the objects that you can push and pull, and that feeds into other kinds of data, like how much parking can we have, and what would be the cost of construction for a type of building like this, even when we're doing that. So you can imagine, as we start developing other kinds of tools as well with, just trying to jump back, with AI in mind, how we might be able to train these softwares that we already have. There's conversations in process, but we'll definitely see how this emerges. Gensler is experimenting with training on solar analysis, on even workflow kind of analysis. I see one of my videos isn't playing, but bear with me, but it's essentially helping to kind of inform some parts of the design process and modeling it as well. And this is, let's see if it'll play. Is it moving here? Okay, great. So this is now just hot off the presses. One of my colleagues was being very provocative and experimenting with drone footage that we have and developing a 3D model using AI based off of a video drone footage. And when we talk about where the industry and where the profession is going, we have to consider how it's even impacting other different professions as well. When we think of like the videos that are emerging now, 3D videos, that same technology can create 3D models now. So there's definitely a lot of discussions to be had, but I just feel very grateful that I'm getting a preview into all of this.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I only have one slide. Obviously, the fancy ladies provided a lot of fancy slides. I only have one slide, and it will be a video. But before I start, my name is Maghzal. I'm a founding member and the head of growth now of a company called Togal.Ai. Just quickly by raise of hand, how many construction people are there here? Not architects. Okay, 2 people. I expected that. Why I'm telling you this? Because I used to work at the biggest construction company in Florida right now called Coastal Construction, and we spun off this tool out of Coastal. I used to be an estimator there. We came up with the idea with the owners, very visionary people, Murphy family, and we just started Togal. Hopefully nothing happened.
Johnny, the slide, are you?
Yeah, my slide is next one. I'm just worried to start it because it's a video. So I'm, okay, it will be the next one. But just before I start, it's a video. What I want to show you here again is not as fancy as what the ladies are doing, but what we are doing is we are replacing a process that construction estimators do, and they call it quantity takeoffs. And quantity takeoffs is the act of measuring spaces and materials in order to be able to price a project. For example, the company that built this space had to know how much screed had to go on the floor, how much glass they needed. So this act of quantity takeoff, it's the problem that we are solving for, okay? I will talk about that later. But what I will show you here is how estimators used to do quantity takeoffs before Togal and how they are doing it with Togal. Okay, just bear with me. It is a very annoying process, and the reason I'm showing you this, it is on 2 speed, like times 2 speed, just to show you the sheer amount of the problem. The people who do this, people who study construction management for 5 years in universities, and they go to construction companies and spend 60% of their time doing what I'm gonna show you here, okay? So let's pray that this video goes. Hopefully it starts. I knew that it might not. Maybe. Oh, there you go. There you go. So this is hopefully okay. Okay. So this is life before Togal. You know, if I sell carpet and I need to know how much carpet I have in this floor plan, people had to go and literally color and trace like in kindergarten. Okay? They are coloring and tracing. In construction, especially in the United States, the architects do not give us fancy models early on. They give us a PDF, literally, a 2D drawing. And a person, again, this is on times 2 speed, has to go and color and trace 60% of their time. And if you know anything about construction, estimators are the most, like the rarest people in any construction team. Again, we are just drawing the corridor over here. So a floor plan like this could take somewhere between 30 to 50 minutes. The music is intentional, just so you all cry. But again, this is on times 2. I didn't want to make it so slow. But what you will see, that when this is done, which is another 5 seconds, what we did with Togal is we used machine learning to replace the coloring and tracing piece of estimators. We don't want to replace the estimator because it will be a little bit insane from our end to claim that we can replace an estimator. What you will see after this here, which is after Togal, so this is just through the corridor, okay? Times 2 speed, okay? What we did with Togal, everything you're gonna see here that is in green is rendered by the machine, okay? A task that takes 30 to 40 minutes is now done in 5 to 10 seconds, but it's not a final product. The user still needs to select the spaces and name them something, okay? So I think, again, if I talked about it, it would be very hard to explain it, and that's why I wanted to show it in a video. Again, we'll come back to questions, but for now, I am done. Give it to Nicolas. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful that you presented something different from what these ladies presented right here, because I didn't want to go into all the process that I think it's the most interesting part of what is changing with our profession and all you showed. But I want to show you that for us, the impact of AI is changing the mindset or the way we approach projects right now, the way we design. So I wanted to center what I'm going to show in that difference, what we were doing before AI and what we are doing after AI. So For us, the design process, I'm going to use this building as an example. This is the Real Madrid Stadium, which we are finishing right now. And I wanted to use this one because it's a very complex and iconic, well, it has a very complex and iconic image. And in order to start discussing the image with our clients, we start the process as every architect starts process with some sketches. But so after the sketches, we start discussing things very conceptual, from a conceptual point of view with our clients. And in order to show something that could look as it was gonna be built, we needed to develop the project, study plans, study sections, go throughout very complex process of geometry and modeling that in order to have a complete 3D model for being able to have images that could show the client what we were talking about and started discussing details of the project. That was before AI. So I believe that either one of your companies started with all this thinking before we did. Actually, in 2022 was when we really started understanding that AI was here to stay and that we have to understand how could we use it as a tool, not being afraid of it. And we started working with different kind of projects, different kind of projects with different kind of systems, trying to analyze what it could do for us. And so what we discovered is that I think the main advantage we've taken out of it is in the first stages of the project, where we can use of what we had to do from the sketch to the final image. It was a lot of thinking, a lot of working, a lot of modeling. Right now, we can go from one sketch to an image that it's not the final or the real image, but it allows us to start researching about volumetry, about materials, about environment, about the programming itself. And as you said, one thing is that technology allows us to have a lot of options, but we have to be able to select those options and select what it's good for a project and for our clients. So this process allows us to have this discussion with our clients in the previous stages, and that weighed so much. This is the final image of the project that it's being built right now in India. And then we started investigating or researching on how we could work with from the sketch process into the image process with like feeding the model with our own basis, because as we know, OpenAI works with a huge database that it's taken from all over the world. So how could we feed this database with our projects, the materials we use for a specific region, for a specific climate? What is the kind of vegetation or places we have the project? And so as we have our own databases, we can start working in projects that answer to the needs of our clients, to the needs of the place we're working, and from the individual point of view of our company towards those projects. And so these are the images from that sketch using our own database. And even though I think the visual part is so important, we understood too that AI is not only a tool for image creation, but it's a tool that we can use in different aspects of our profession that would allows us to be more efficient and be able to optimize some kind of works that takes us a lot of time. For example, other than image, we're using BIM integrated apps that allows us, to study sites, to study daylight saving or coding, a lot of things that take a lot of time of our work in order to optimize the design process, even to manage productivity in meetings, text creation, etc. So it's not as fancy as you were presenting, but I think that the conclusion is that if we understand that we can use it as a tool, it can optimize a lot of our work and allows us to use all the time that we were putting into those processes to either work in other projects or to be more effective in the next part of the process where you're trying to make all this the design development or the construction process of the project.
Great, thank you. We saw very different and interesting takes on this. So I go back to the title of the session about the transformation of the profession. So, in the last 30, 40 years, we've seen several waves of change in the profession. CAD first had a radical consequence. The workflow doesn't look at all like it used to. Then BIM, also very radical changes. And now AI. But do you think this is just yet another one of those waves, and we're talking about here an evolution rather than a radical disruption? Or going back to Kim's question about how, the question that he hears all the time, is AI going to take my job away? Well, when I look at Johnny's software, I think that this will take someone's job away, yes.
You can argue yes.
Let's see, can I hear,
Sure.
yes? Go ahead.
So again, there is not a lot of construction people here, but the person who we are trying to augment is the estimator, okay? And estimators have so much context and experience in their brain. Estimators take 10 pieces of drawings that architects give us, and we turned it to $150 million price. Okay, there's a lot of assumptions. The gentleman there is smiling. A lot of assumptions that we do, but this is done based on a lot of experience and a lot of past things that this estimator went through. But the task that we are trying to reduce is not that artistic piece of the estimator. We are trying to remove the coloring and tracing piece, which again constitutes of 60% of their job. So is AI gonna replace the estimator? I deeply believe it won't. Would it make an estimator do the work of two estimators? 100%. So you see, it is a dance between the human and the machine, basically. This is how I view it.
Yeah, if I can just add on to that, the use of AI tools is actually evolving our roles as an architect, as an estimator. It's not, currently I don't think it's going to take our jobs, but it's going to make, for example, the architect more of a programmer or a scripter, someone who curates the process versus doing the laborer's work of, like creating an image. In the old days, we would use V-Ray. It was a very tedious process. But now we're doing things faster, more efficiently. And be careful when you say fast, because fast design, as I had mentioned, is dangerous. But doing it in a more efficient way, so that it's more direct, so we can get the output that we want with higher accuracy. I think that's what AI is helping us.
Yeah, if I can piggyback off of that, it's not necessarily, I make this joke of like, well, now you have an assistant, you just got promoted, right? And when you think about what, someone who is above you, more senior, would be doing, is that they're really directing that process, right? And I think, this component of when we're delegating and things do become more efficient, the one part that we do have to be careful of, and one of the reasons that I'm focusing my research that I'm doing right now more towards value and communicating design value in this age of AI, is because as we become more efficient, our clients may have different expectations, especially, and as people start comparing, oh, this firm can do it, and in a week. They tell me you can do it in a week and they're charging me this much. How does this relate? We have to start thinking about what other things we might be providing to our clients in addition to what we already do, and communicating that value in a much more profound way and building an even deeper connection. So it becomes a much more interpersonal type of challenge for us. But I think the skill set of the architect is needed perhaps more than ever, I would say, because it's so, as we're trained to be collaborators and we're trained to be coordinators. And that's something that is so needed in this time.
I think when photography first came, artists were so afraid because actually they had been working all their life to represent reality. So photography came, technology arrived, and so they had to rethink what was they had to do and what was art and what was the relationship with reality. I think what's happening right now is that actually AI. We have to rethink a couple of things of our profession with AI. I don't think that AI is gonna replace us or me. I think someone knowing how to use correctly AI is going to replace me. It's not, for us, it's a tool. And I think, as you said, it can be read from the point of view of the client that you can do things faster and that that you can reduce certain times of the process. And I think that we have to educate ourselves, educate the people we work with, and educate the clients to understand what's the value of AI, and that even though it accelerates some processes, behind those processes you have to have people with criteria and with the experience to take decisions over those processes and over those answers. As it was being discussed in one of the previous panels, I think you need the collective intelligence and the experience of our architects and of our people in order to know what to do with those tools. The tool by itself, I think it won't do anything. So you need people behind those tools to use them correctly.
So the other burning question, then this is now from the academic side, given what you're describing, then how do we train then the future architects? So Johnny, AI will take care of 60% of that work. What is the 40%? What should we be teaching for that 40%?
Sure.
This is a question for all of you, by the way.
Yes. So there is two pieces of Dean Khoury's question. The first is how do we train students? We at Togal have an initiative. We're already working with 20 universities. If there are any students here, reach out to me and we give free access for Togal, up to 3 to 6 months, depending on their classes. So that's one. But what is the 40%? It's a deep conversation. I would try to make it very short. As a software vendor, I come with all my biases, obviously, because I'm trying to sell a software. But whenever I go try to sell this software to construction companies, there is two people who are worried. The manager, who is worried that this junior estimator is relying on a black box that's gonna price a project for them. It's a scary thing, okay? And the other piece of the equation is the estimator who is scared of losing their job, okay? So there is a tension between both. I think, again, construction companies should be a little bit more open to use these tools and focus on the 40%. In the case of the estimator, teaching the estimator how to look at drawings, constructability stuff, working closely with architects so you see how architects dream about something while we have all those constraints we provide to the architects that it's not buildable, blah, blah, blah. This is where the most 40% is. Again, I'm just talking from an estimator point of view.
Right.
There's a lot of fancy architecture.
It gets more complex when we shift now to the design. Like, so what is the 40%? What is that thing the je ne sais quoi that we have to teach.
So I think that rather than say, what do we have to teach, it's more, what is the mindset, what's the culture that we need to instill in our universities. AI, it's like an AI revolution, and I don't think it's going to stop. It's just going to keep increasing. The amount of tools are just going to multiply. And for our young people...
This is why I think the answer is not, oh, we should teach them how to use AI better. No, I agree with you. That's not the satisfying answer for me, at least.
We need young people, young architects, young students to be agile, to be nimble, to be able to pick up things quickly, to have that kind of like yearning to learn, to be proactive in researching what the tools are and kind of just try to foresee what's going to be in the future rather than be reactive, rather than, okay, let's just learn what's in the trend right now. But yeah, looking to the future and getting students to feel empowered and creative and brave and not be afraid.
Lorena.
I think there's somewhat two parts to that question. The first is exactly to really cultivating that. I like the word that you use, brave, right? I mean, it's this kind of the human instinct that comes from all of these different critical thinking skills. And I think that's one thing that I'm actually quite excited about. The fact, AI is simplifying things in some ways, but it's actually forcing us to contend with, well, what is it that we're actually looking at? I have to now be critical and hypercritical, and the critique of the work is actually part of the design process. That's part of the directing of the role, and being observant and being able to find the nuance of things. I think perhaps the way that we train, I talk to my teams as well, where I'm like, wow, we're such an apprenticeship-based industry, right? It's like when we normally, this all of history, architects have been learning by doing, but now we have something that's doing things faster. So what do we have to do? And then at least in our firms, we have to double down on mentorship and spend more time teaching people how to think critically about what are the next steps in the process, because they have to be the ones guiding the AI. And the second part of that, I think, is actually about understanding where the industry of architecture might go, in the sense of what kinds of other services we might even be able to offer, like digital twins, like operations management, and so on, that keep expanding our industry and making sure that we can be nimble as architects in order to be able to provide those services when we get there.
Nicolas.
I would like to see it from the practical point of view. From the practical, I mean that architecture, architecture has to be built. And buildings have, there are a technical aspect of buildings that have to be taken into account when you're designing a project. It has structure, it has MEPs, it has a lot of things. So I think as a complement or what you have already said, I think students have to know that behind all those images and all that creativity, you have to be able to transform that into a building, and not forget that there's a physical part of it that has to be taken into account, and that has to be educated and cultivated. And that from the practical point of view, and I think it's important to know all the history. I think architectural theory is important to be able to be critical with everything you're seeing. So I think we have to keep on educating students in history, in humanities, in the technical part, so AI and everything that comes from now on becomes a tool and not the end of architecture, not the final end of architecture.
Let's hear from questions from the audience.
Hi, so I've taken a lot of notes. Just to answer everyone, I think AI is practically not going to take jobs but give more jobs. And there's many reasons for that. If you look at history in construction, a house was simple. The design was simple. The quantity was simple. As you get further into the future, it gets more complex. The high-rise are crazy high and more complex to design. The takeoffs are also ridiculous. So without AI, you'll never get there. It's that simple. So AI definitely will help give more job if you look at it the right way. And the future is not going to hold on. It's not going to stop here. We're going to go further and further in. A few more questions. Obviously, AI will provide not only, the vision and also provide efficiency. Things that you won't be able to do as a human being also. Okay, it will take you years or let's say months to get to it. It'll provide also QA/QC. Error. It'll be able to catch errors that we may not catch on certain times. So I just want to point this out because it's important to look at it where if we don't have AI, we're not just going to progress. Is that simple?
Can I add on that, Dean? Sorry, yes. I really like this what the gentleman just said. We know, I think your face is very familiar. I'm so sorry. What I want to add, you cut my train of thought now. Okay, what I wanted to add is, for example, all of you use your credit cards, okay? Do you care about what the handshake that happens between your credit card and the receiver machine? You don't even care. It's just, boop. There is a very complicated mathematical handshake that is happening between two untrusted items, your credit card and the vendor's thing. From my experience with machine learning and AI, and again, I am a vendor, so I'm coming with my biases, but this would sound opposite to a vendor, okay? I think that life will continue, and the thing with AI, definitely, it is a historical time when machines can make decisions for humans. This never happened before, and I'm not taking the importance of that. But what I think will happen, the word AI is very sexy, and this is the thing with it. Everybody, oh, AI, Tom Cruise, coming from a plane, giving a massage for you and doing a takeoff for you while you're washing your car. This is not what is happening, okay? It's a little bit less. And again, if you look at the history of when this started in the 30s, the person who came up with the first term wanted to call it complex mathematics. And they thought that the word was just not sexy enough, and they called it AI. So again, the point I'm trying to make, which is very, very important, is that in 5-10 years, people will not talk about this AI thing. These will become tools that we will not even think about. You don't care about how the picture comes to your Instagram with this speed, with 5G, with all the optical connections that happen. They will become tools, and we will just use them, and we will continue life as it is. I'm not, again, taking away the importance of this revolutionary thing, but again, it will just become a normal thing in our life. My point of view.
Okay. Yes, please.
The day wouldn't be complete if I didn't ask a question in every session. So my question is this: why won't AI take my job? I mean, to paraphrase Rodney Dangerfield, take my job, please. Who wants to work? Nobody wants to work. We all want to be purposeful and productive and useful in our society. So why do I need to work at something in order to have a salary, to have an income, to have means of supporting my lifestyle? I'd much rather AI do the work that I don't want to do and allow me to be productive and purposeful in society. You mentioned using AI in a way that would augment other material implementations besides architectural buildings, using AI to find out other services that people need. In the virtual world, Kim talked about we are immersive beings. We live in a three-dimensional world, yet we operate in a 2D manufacturing sense. So we need to find ways out of this dilemma that we keep describing ourselves in by surrendering our jobs to those that are adapted to the iterative, monotonous, and leave our minds and our humanity open to the availability. So why won't AI take my job?
I can go for 50 minutes about this. I am very philosophical about this conversation. I will shut up, give other people more space, but if you want, I can talk about this separately. Unless you all want to hear my opinion.
Well, thank you for the question. I mean, one really important word, I think you said it as part of your question, was being purposeful, right? It's not that you don't want to do work. You want to do work that is purposeful and has meaning to you, and meaning in a way that it can help you contribute in such a way that it moves society forward in one way or another. And yes, you know, being able to delegate what you're doing that you don't want to be doing is exactly what we're after, right? Because we want to be able to spend time doing those things. I mean, as a ratio, I'm sure all of us find some meaning in our work, at least 10%, I hope, right? Maybe as we move forward in the future, that will become more like 50%, 60%. And the more we can find that relationship between our purpose and the purpose that we can contribute to society, and perhaps, I mean, to be honest, economically, right, that it has a kind of purpose for people, then we can continue to do that. And yes, I'm excited for it. I want to do more human things and be more purposeful as well.
I think we talked about how AI will transform our role instead of taking our jobs. I think that's very true, because as AI makes our life easier, more efficient, there's going to be the need for human judgment to monitor the services, to quality check, because AI it's based on past data. And if the data is incorrect, or if data literacy is not available in a certain area, we still need human input to ensure that the product is satisfactory. So I foresee that the human input still needs to be there. We might evolve in the way that we do our work, and that's okay. It'll make us more efficient, and it'll bring progress to our industries. But I don't think we should be afraid of AI. I think embrace it and be aware of how you can change as a professional.
From my point of view as an architect, I like to believe that as an architect, we are useful to society, and that we try to read our time and produce spaces for people hopefully to enjoy and to live in, and a lot of things. I think that from my point of view, that is my purpose as an architect. So I think what I was trying to say is that AI won't take that purpose from our profession, or it would be useful for a lot of things that take us away time that we could use towards that purpose. So I agree that if I can give all that part of my job to AI, as I said, with someone or used by people that have the experience, the criteria, everything to make it right, I would be grateful to be spending my time in all that like humanistic part of architecture.
I have 1 second to talk on this, sir. It's a very intriguing point, actually. I would love to talk about you about. But I think not only technology and industries progress and evolve, purpose also progress and evolves. Before AutoCAD, these beautiful architects beside me, they used to draw with the T-square. And everybody was like, oh, I want to use AutoCAD. They used AutoCAD, now they are complaining about AutoCAD. They want to use something else to speed. So the purpose of their work also evolved. The purpose before was to be the best at T-square drawing. Then became the purpose of becoming the best in AutoCAD. I want to give you an example. If you watch Formula One, imagine Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen taking their job. Would you ever watch Formula One? 2 cars just going around without a person. So the human element, the story of Max with his girlfriend, kid, and what they do every day, this is what drives us to stuff. So this is where the human element stays there. And again, I would love to continue this conversation on the side. Thank you so much.
Like Jamie said earlier, there's an opportunity here to cultivate new mindsets. It's not about new skills. So yes, I mean, let's conclude here. Thank you. And let's come back at 4:55 for the keynote lecture. Just a short break, and thank you very much. This is great. We could have continued forever, but we have to stop here. Thank you.